Imagine receiving a letter. It's not just any letter. This one comes from a stranger, a wealthy aristocrat who claims to be imprisoned in Spain. He tells you a secret. He has a vast fortune hidden away, a treasure chest full of gold and jewels. But he cannot access it from his prison cell. He needs your help. He asks for a small amount of money to bribe the guards and secure his release. In return, he promises you a generous share of his immense wealth. It sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? This story, known as the Spanish prisoner con, is one of the oldest and most successful scams in history, dating back to the 16th century. The setup is a masterpiece of psychological manipulation. It preys on our deepest desires for wealth, adventure, and the chance to be a hero. The scammer creates a compelling narrative, a story filled with drama and intrigue. The victim is not just giving away money, they are becoming part of a secret mission. They are the key to unlocking a fortune and saving a nobleman in distress. This powerful combination of greed and goodwill makes the story incredibly persuasive. The person receiving the letter feels special, chosen for a unique opportunity that no one else has. This feeling of exclusivity is a powerful hook that draws the victim deeper into the con. The Spanish prisoner scam has evolved over the centuries, but its core elements remain the same. Today, you might not receive a handwritten letter from a Spanish prison. Instead, you might get an email from a Nigerian prince who needs help moving millions of dollars out of his country. The medium has changed from paper to pixels, but the underlying story is identical. It's a tale of a large sum of money that is just out of reach, and only you, the chosen one, can help unlock it. The scam works because it bypasses our rational minds and appeals directly to our emotions and our dreams of a better, richer life. The enduring success of this con teaches us a crucial lesson about the nature of scams. They are not just about tricking people. They are about telling a story that people want to believe. The scammer is a storyteller, a performer who creates a reality so compelling that the victim willingly suspends their disbelief. They build a world where fantastic opportunities are real and where a small act of trust can lead to unimaginable rewards. Understanding this principle is the first step in learning how to protect ourselves from the modern-day versions of the Spanish prisoner that we encounter every day in our digital lives. So, who are these individuals who spend their days crafting such elaborate deceptions? It's easy to imagine them as shadowy villains, master criminals with genius-level intellects. The reality, however, is often far more ordinary. Scammers are people from all walks of life. They can be young or old, educated or not. What unites them is not a specific background, but a particular mindset. They often possess a high degree of confidence, a talent for storytelling, and a noticeable lack of empathy for their victims. They see other people not as human beings with feelings and families, but as targets, or marks, in a game they are determined to win. The primary motivation for most scammers is, unsurprisingly, money. They are driven by a desire for financial gain without the conventional effort of a regular job. They see scamming as a shortcut to wealth, a more efficient path to getting what they want. However, for some, it's about more than just the money. There is a psychological thrill involved, a rush of power that comes from successfully manipulating another person. For these individuals, the con is a demonstration of their own cleverness and superiority. They enjoy the challenge of building a believable story and maintaining the deception, feeling a sense of accomplishment when the victim falls for their trick. Scammers are also skilled observers of human nature. They understand what makes people tick. They know that most of us are fundamentally trusting and want to help others. They know that we are all susceptible to feelings of greed, fear, and insecurity. They use this knowledge to their advantage, tailoring their scams to exploit these universal human vulnerabilities. A scammer doesn't need to be a psychologist with a PhD. They just need to be a good student of human behavior, learning through trial and error what kind of stories and what kind of emotional appeals get the best results. Their expertise is practical, honed by countless interactions with potential victims. It's also important to recognize that many scammers operate within organized networks. They are not always lone wolves. These groups can be highly sophisticated, with different people playing different roles. One person might be responsible for making the initial contact. Another might be the expert who provides fake documents, and another might be the manager who handles the money. This division of labor makes the scam more convincing and harder to detect. The victim may interact with several people, all of whom seem to reinforce the legitimacy of the story, making it feel like a real, professional operation rather than the work of a single trickster. At the heart of every successful scam is a deep understanding of human psychology. Scammers are masters of persuasion, and one of their most powerful tools is the principle of trust. Before a scammer can take anything from you, they must first earn your confidence. They work to build a connection, to make you feel comfortable and secure. This process, known as grooming, can happen very quickly or unfold over weeks or even months. They might pretend to share common interests, flatter you with compliments, or share a fake personal story to create a sense of intimacy and mutual understanding. They want you to see them as a friend or a trusted advisor, not as a stranger. Once a foundation of trust is established, the scammer begins to construct the frame of the con. This involves creating a believable context for their request. They don't just ask for money out of the blue. Instead, they present a problem that needs solving or an opportunity that must be seized. For example, in a romance scam, the scammer builds a loving relationship over time before suddenly having a medical emergency that requires financial help. In an investment scam, they present themselves as a successful trader with a secret formula for making money, but they need your capital to get started. The story makes the request for money seem logical and necessary within the world they have created. The scammer carefully controls the flow of information, ensuring that you only see what they want you to see. They will provide just enough detail to make their story seem real, but not so much that you can easily check the facts. They might use sophisticated-sounding jargon to make an investment seem legitimate, or create fake websites and documents that look official. This stage is all about building a convincing illusion. They are like a magician, directing your attention to one hand, while the other hand prepares the trick. They want to keep you focused on the exciting promise of the outcome, not on the questionable details of the process. This entire process is designed to lower your natural defenses. By building trust and creating a compelling narrative, the scammer encourages you to act with your heart instead of your head. They are counting on the fact that once you are emotionally invested in their story, you will be less likely to ask critical questions or notice the red flags. You want to believe in the possibility of love, the chance of easy money, or the opportunity to help someone in need. The scammer doesn't create these desires. They simply find them within you and use them to their advantage, turning your own good nature and emotional responses into weapons against you. Another key psychological trick in the scammer's toolkit is the creation of urgency. Scammers know that when people are forced to make decisions quickly, they are more likely to make mistakes. They don't want you to have time to think, to consult with a friend, or to do your own research. Therefore, they will almost always introduce a time limit. You might be told that a special investment opportunity is ending today, or that you must act now to claim your prize. This manufactured pressure is designed to trigger a panic response, pushing you to make a snap judgment based on emotion rather than careful consideration. This sense of urgency is often paired with the principle of scarcity. The offer is not just time-sensitive, it is also exclusive. You are told that there are only a few spots left in the investment program, or that the discounted product is almost sold out. This creates a fear of missing out, often abbreviated as FOMO. This fear is a powerful motivator. People hate the idea of losing a great opportunity that was within their grasp. The thought that others might get the benefit while they are left with nothing can be a strong push to act immediately, even if something feels a little bit off. The scammer wants you to think, "I have to do this now, or I'll regret it forever." Consider the classic tech support scam. You receive a pop-up message on your computer screen with a loud alarm and a flashing warning. Your computer is infected with a dangerous virus. Call this number immediately to prevent data loss. The message is designed to induce panic. The urgency is clear. Your precious files are at risk. The scarcity is implied. The window to save your data is closing rapidly. Your instinct is to solve the problem as quickly as possible, so you call the number. The technician on the other end then guides you through a process that gives them remote access to your computer and, ultimately, your bank account. This combination of urgency and scarcity is effective because it short-circuits our normal decision-making process. Our brains are wired to react quickly to threats and opportunities. When faced with a high-pressure situation, the rational, analytical part of our brain can be overridden by the more primitive, emotional part. We stop thinking logically and start reacting instinctively. Scammers are experts at creating these high-pressure situations. They know that a person in a state of panic is a person who is easy to control. By forcing you onto their timeline, they take away your power to think for yourself. So, humans have a natural desire to be liked and respected. Scammers, they're keenly aware of this, and, honestly, they use flattery as a tool to disarm their targets. They'll shower you with compliments, telling you how smart, insightful, or special you are. In an investment scam, for example, a scammer might say, "I'm only offering this to a select group of intelligent investors like you." And, in a romance scam, they'll tell you that you are the most beautiful, caring, and wonderful person they've ever met. This flattery makes us feel good, right? It lowers our guard and makes us more receptive to the person giving the compliments. We're honestly more likely to trust someone who seems to have a high opinion of us. At the same time, scammers often project an image of authority. They want you to see them as experts who have special knowledge or power. They might use official-sounding titles like doctor, professor, or senior account manager. Sometimes, they even claim to work for a well-known company like Microsoft or a government agency like the IRS. This is a tactic known as an appeal to authority. We're taught from a young age to respect authority figures and to follow their instructions. So when someone appears to be in a position of power, we're less likely to question them. We just assume they know what they're talking about, and that they have our best interests at heart. Think about a common phishing email that appears to be from your bank. The email uses the bank's official logo, colors, and font. The language is formal and professional. It might warn you of unauthorized activity on your account and instruct you to click a link to verify your identity. The email is designed to look like an authoritative communication from a trusted institution. The scammer is basically borrowing the bank's authority to make their request seem legitimate. They're counting on your respect for the bank's authority to make you click the link without thinking twice about whether the email is genuine. The combination of flattery and authority is, honestly, incredibly effective. The flattery makes you feel special and lowers your emotional defenses, while the appeal to authority makes you feel secure and less likely to question the situation. The scammer creates a dynamic where they're the expert and you're the chosen one. They're guiding you, the intelligent and special person, toward a wonderful outcome. This powerful 1-2 punch can convince even skeptical people to go along with the scam. It makes the victim feel like they're making a smart decision by following the advice of a trustworthy authority figure who recognizes their unique qualities. Let's look at how these tricks come together in a real-world scenario. Consider the grandparent scam. An elderly person, let's call her Sarah, receives a phone call. The voice on the other end says, "Grandma, it's me." The scammer is counting on Sarah to fill in the blank with the name of one of her grandsons, perhaps David. The scammer immediately agrees, "Yes, it's David." Here, the scammer has instantly built a foundation of trust by assuming the identity of a loved one. Sarah's emotional connection to her grandson is now being exploited. The scammer has her full attention and her immediate sympathy. Next, the scammer introduces urgency and fear. David explains that he is in serious trouble. He was on vacation in Mexico, got into a car accident, and has been arrested. He needs money for bail, and he needs it right away. He begs Sarah not to tell his parents because he doesn't want to get into more trouble. This story is designed to create a sense of panic. Sarah is worried about her grandson's safety. The request to keep it a secret isolates her, preventing her from calling other family members who might realize it's a scam. The urgency of the situation, "I need the money wired within the hour," pushes her to act without thinking. The scammer then uses authority to make the transaction seem legitimate. David might put another person on the phone, someone pretending to be a lawyer or a police officer. This authority figure will speak in a serious official tone, confirming the story and explaining exactly how Sarah needs to wire the money. They might use legal-sounding terms and tell her that time is of the essence. This adds a layer of credibility to the scam. Sarah is no longer just helping her grandson. She is complying with instructions from a person of authority in a foreign country, which can feel intimidating and even more urgent. In this single scam, we see multiple psychological principles at work. The scammer exploits trust by impersonating a loved one. They use a dramatic story to create fear and urgency. They isolate the victim by asking for secrecy, and they use a fake authority figure to add credibility and pressure. Sarah isn't scammed because she is foolish. She is scammed because her natural human emotions, her love for her grandson and her desire to help, are used against her in a highly sophisticated and manipulative way. This example shows how scammers layer their tricks to create a situation that is incredibly difficult to resist. It is a common misconception that only foolish, greedy, or elderly people fall for scams. The truth is that anyone can become a victim. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, and professors have all been conned out of their life savings. Intelligence and education are not a shield against deception. This is because scammers don't target our intelligence. They target our humanity. They exploit the very things that make us human: our emotions, our trust, our optimism, and our desire to connect with others. Being smart in an academic sense doesn't make you immune to a well-crafted emotional appeal. One reason smart people get tricked is that they can be overconfident. A highly educated person might think, "I'm too smart to fall for a scam." This overconfidence can actually make them more vulnerable. They might dismiss the initial red flags, believing they are clever enough to see through any trick. A scammer can use flattery to reinforce this belief, telling the target how sharp they are. This can lead the smart person to let their guard down, convinced that they are in control of the situation, when, in fact, the scammer is pulling all the strings. Their intelligence becomes a blind spot. Furthermore, scams often work because they happen at the right time. A person might be going through a difficult period in their life. Perhaps they recently lost a job, ended a relationship, or are feeling lonely. During these vulnerable moments, our judgment can be clouded. An offer of easy money can seem like a lifeline to someone with financial worries. A new online friend who showers them with attention can feel like a miracle to someone who is lonely. The scammer's story arrives at the exact moment when the victim is most desperate to believe it. It's not about being smart or stupid. It's about being human and having needs that a con artist can pretend to fill. Finally, we must remember that we are all wired to believe. Disbelief is difficult and requires conscious effort. Believing is our default state. It's easier and more natural to trust that the person on the phone is who they say they are, or that the email from our bank is real. Constantly questioning everything is exhausting. Scammers rely on this cognitive shortcut. They present a story that is just believable enough to slide past our critical filters. Once we have accepted the initial premise of their story, it becomes harder and harder to back out. We experience cognitive dissonance, the uncomfortable feeling of holding two conflicting beliefs. It's often easier to continue believing the lie than to admit we've been fooled. The good news is that while scammers are clever, they often use the same playbook. By learning to recognize their common tactics, you can protect yourself. The first and most important red flag is any kind of pressure to act immediately. Scammers create a sense of urgency to prevent you from thinking clearly. If you are told you must act now or that an offer is for a limited time only, you should immediately become suspicious. Legitimate businesses and organizations will give you time to make a decision. A request for immediate action is a giant warning sign that someone is trying to rush you into a bad choice. Another major red flag is a request for an unusual form of payment. Scammers often ask for payment in ways that are difficult to trace and impossible to reverse. They might ask you to pay with gift cards, like from Apple, Google Play, or Amazon, cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, or a wire transfer. No legitimate business or government agency will ever demand payment in gift cards. If someone tells you to go to the store, buy hundreds of dollars in gift cards, and read them the numbers on the back, you can be 100% certain it is a scam. This is a clear signal that they are trying to take your money in a way that you can never get back. Be wary of any communication that starts with a generic greeting like "Dear Customer" or "Valued Member," but then asks for personal information. Banks, credit card companies, and other institutions know your name. If an email or text message claims to be from a company you do business with but doesn't use your name, it's likely a phishing attempt. Also, look closely at email addresses and website links. Scammers often create addresses that look very similar to official ones, but with a small change, like bankofamerica1ca.com instead of bankofamerica.com. Always double-check the sender's details. Finally, remember the old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Scams work by promising incredible rewards for very little risk or effort. You have not won a lottery you never entered. A distant, unknown relative has not left you millions of dollars in their will. There is no secret investment that guarantees a 50% return in 1 month. These are all fantasies designed to appeal to our hopes and dreams. A healthy dose of skepticism is your best defense. When you are presented with an unbelievable opportunity, your first reaction should be to question it, not to get excited about it. Protecting yourself from scams doesn't require you to be a security expert. It just requires a few simple, consistent habits. The most powerful thing you can do is to slow down. Scammers want you to act fast. Your best defense is to do the opposite. If you receive a suspicious phone call, email, or text message, just stop. Take a deep breath. Give yourself time to think. Tell the person you need to think about it and we'll call them back. This simple act of pausing breaks the scammer's spell of urgency and gives you back control of the situation. Never let anyone rush you into making a financial decision. Second, always verify information independently. If you get a call from someone claiming to be from your bank, the IRS, or a tech company, hang up. Then, find the official phone number for that organization on your bank statement, their official website, or a phone book. Call that official number yourself. Do not call the number the person gave you, or click on a link in an email. By initiating the contact yourself using a number you know is legitimate, you can confirm whether the situation is real or a scam. This one step can stop the vast majority of impersonation scams in their tracks. Be protective of your personal information. Think of your passwords, social security number, and bank account details like the keys to your house. You wouldn't give them to a stranger who knocked on your door, and you shouldn't give them to a stranger online or on the phone. No legitimate company will call or email you and ask you to confirm your password or full social security number. Be suspicious of any unsolicited request for personal data. The less information you share, the harder it is for a scammer to target you or steal your identity. Finally, talk about your experiences. If you receive a suspicious email or a strange phone call, tell a friend or family member about it. Scammers isolate their victims and make them feel ashamed or embarrassed. Talking about it breaks that isolation. It allows you to get a second opinion from someone who is not under the same emotional pressure. They might spot the red flags that you missed. And if you do get scammed, it is important to report it to the authorities and to talk about it. Sharing your story helps others learn and can prevent them from becoming the next victim. There is no shame in being targeted. The only shame is in the actions of the con artist.